Herbert. 31? There you go. 31. Thank you.
Well, okay, what's his name? The tall guy. It's a dark skin.
Oh yeah, of course. I actually see him going down.
What's that?
Alright, I'm gonna grab some.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
They're one of them.
I didn't know when I asked
Requires a melon scooper. It's probably. Last
I do a lot.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, he just has to exactly.
You look
Very good. How's your video? You've shown it all over, right? Like, where'd that come from? Yeah? Double duty. I'm pretending to be Jamie Drum over here.
I don't know where he is now. What don't we know?
It looks like he's 12. He's a camera. He's a
fundraiser. It's fantastic.
Okay.
To the next Pride Festival.
All right.
What do you have to say, Lauren?
It's my
It
first
puts
time
you on
here.
the spot. Nice.
And he did put me on the spot. I'm glad to be here. It's nice to see there's a huge turnout.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, we are here totally. Oh, please, can I take a picture of these guys? These are legends. Legends. Excuse me. Get him in the center. Mr. Yaski. They're going to get a picture here. Legend shot. Legend shot. There you go.
Let's look back at it. Okay. I'm only 35. Abby.
We'll see you for another 12 months.
All right, if we can get everybody seated, we'll get started with the program. And I promised everyone to cut out some of our speeches and asking our elected officials to keep it very short. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then we can all get to the fun part and have some dancing and dining and drinking and whatever else. Waiting for our county leader. Our county leader. Our great county leader. Sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. I'd like to welcome everybody to the 2008 Winter Pride celebration. Let's hear it. Stuart Kessler, our co-chair, Stuart Kessler.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stuart Kessler, and it's my privilege and honor to greet all our friends, supporters, and just great friends here at the 15th Annual Winter Pride benefiting the Queens Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender Pride Committee. Who could believe that 15 years ago we'd be sitting here, the room gets fuller, the electeds get more crowded, the clothing looks better, we look younger. I don't know about looking younger, but I know I am. But glad to see everyone year after year. Somewhere in this crowd is my co-chair, Hank Grumholz. Hi. Oh, hi. Together with Hank and myself, along with the committee that you see in the journal, we put together the parade and festival, as well as this wonderful event. This is Hank, let him say hello.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I'd like to also welcome everybody to our 15th Annual Winter Pride. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. We hope you enjoy yourselves.
Just a quick reminder, the parade, as usual, will be the first Sunday in June. This year, June 1st, 2008, kicking off Pride Month in the city of New York. This time it's my pleasure to introduce Laura Cataract, who will introduce a very important person to Queen's Pride.
Thank you, Stuart. I'm going to introduce the man who founded our organization, but in addition to founding the Queen's Pride organization, Danny has been an advocate not just for the LGBT community, but also for the children in his classroom, his fellow teachers, immigrants, seniors, the community at large, and also for civil rights. So I'm very pleased to introduce the founder of the Queen's Pride organization, Daniel Drumm.
All right, let's get it together here now, everybody. You know, it really is unbelievable that we're celebrating the 15th anniversary of the Queens Lesbian and Gay Pride, Winter Pride celebration. And I want to start off by saying that we're very, very honored to have two people here who mean an awful lot to the Pride Committee. And that is the brother and niece of Julio Rivera, who was murdered, as you know, on July 2nd, 1990 in Jackson Heights, and for whom the community galvanized around the issue. So I just want to give a shout out and ask them to stand, please. Ted Rivera and Jennifer Rivera. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to keep my promise because I'm a bit of a politician myself, and I better keep my promises. So what I have to do tonight is just I want to introduce to you, well, we're going to cut down a little bit on the speeches, and we're going to ask all of our elected officials to keep it short so that people can get to the fun part of the program. But I do want to acknowledge the elected officials who are here with us tonight, and we'll hear from some of them, but not from all of them. So let me go around and start off by saying we have State Senator Toby Stavitsky with us. Let's hear Toby Stavitsky. Assemblymember Jonathan Bing. Openly bisexual Assemblymember Mika Kellner. Our honoree, Assemblymember Danny O'Donnell, who you'll be hearing more from later. Assemblyman Mark Weprin. My Assemblyman and the Grand Marshal for this year's Queen's Pride Parade, Assemblyman Jose Peralta. Assemblymember Michael Gianaris. This is his district, and we're very welcome to be here. We're very grateful. Also next to him is the councilman for this district, Councilman Peter Valone Jr. My very good friend and the council member from the district in which I teach, my good friend, Councilman Eric Toya. And we have people from a few foreign lands. From Brooklyn, Councilmember David Yaski. And we have also Councilmember Jimmy Baca. And I'm going to ask him to stand here because those of you who know about the Queen's Pride movement know that 15 years ago when Winter Pride started, we could hardly get an elected official in the room. So we're very, very proud of the accomplishments that we've made, and that's what we're here to celebrate tonight. Yes, I'm going to get to some still. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know, it was historic when just 2 years ago, and it's hard to believe that it was just 2 years ago, we elected the first openly lesbian speaker of the New York City Council. Let's put it together for Speaker Christine Quinn.
Recently called Danny the King of Queens. Page 4 with and online with a very lovely picture of me, not that I noticed. But I think we all know that in our heart of hearts, Danny's actually the Queen of Queens. And I don't mean to quibble with the press. But I really want to congratulate Danny and Hank and Stuart and Laura and everyone who worked so hard on tonight's dinner. If we could get a big round of applause for these 4 guys. And you know, I was talking to somebody actually from the press before, and they were asking me why this event seems like such a special event. And this really is a very, very special event. Because this event speaks to the fact that in Queens County, the LGBT community came together, came out, made its presence known in this borough, declared that this was our home, and went about building community groups, building political support, educating people, getting support from the political organizations, and all of that work, that close to 2 decades of work, has helped make Queens County an even more inclusive, diverse, and supportive county of the LGBT community. All of you made that happen, and you should be incredibly, incredibly proud of yourself. And I just want to thank Danny in particular, and I know our great county leader, Joe Crowley, will agree with me when I say this. Danny did so much personally to help our great Queens Democratic organization expand and grow and educate itself. And I know that Tom Mann was so grateful to you for that work and that education that you conducted with the organization. And I know I personally benefited from that work in my election to Speaker, where the Queens County organization has a little bit to do with it. So thank you, Danny. And let me just say 2 quick things about Danny O'Donnell and Matt Foreman. You know, Danny O'Donnell helped lead something incredible this year, which couldn't have happened without events like this and without all of your work on the ground level and on the grassroots. If you had asked people, even the smartest political minds, if the New York State Assembly was going to pass same-sex marriage last year, everybody would have bet their house and $1 million it would never have happened. But this room, the LGBT community, and Danny O'Donnell don't take no for an answer, and that's why Danny really helped make something completely miraculous happen in August. So Danny, congratulations. And thank you for never taking no for an answer. Matt, there really isn't anybody who is more appropriate to be honored by this group than Matt Foreman. Because in some ways, the whole, in some ways, really, the LGBT civil rights movement in Queens was sprung out of a terrible, terrible tragedy. a terrible hate crime, murder of Julio Rivera. And that was a moment where the community could have pretended we didn't exist or could have organized. And that helped Danny and everyone else organize, and that really is one of the main things that helped this community pull together. And it's also an incredible moment if you look, and I know some members of the Rivera family are here. I haven't seen in a long time. It's good to see you guys. If you look back, I think, on the history of the gay community in New York City, that organizing that Matt led was a turning point moment for our community. It was a moment when we said, we exist, we're not going to be ignored by law enforcement, we're not going to have what happens to us denied, we're going to have it named, we're going to have justice sought and justice delivered. So I just want to thank Matt for being one of the most tireless advocates I have ever met on behalf of our community. So congratulations, everybody.
And I'm going to invite up now Chris's former boss, if you can believe it or not, and the first openly gay elected member of the New York City Council, now state senator, first HIV positive elected official as well. Let's put it together, and a Queens boy, Tom Gray.
And as I've always been proud to say, you scratch a Manhattan reformer and you get a Queens regular. Well, I'm always happy to be here. And coming from an all-gays, all-boys Catholic high school, on Utopia Parkway, as only Queens would have a Utopia Parkway. I want to say a couple things. One is this is just always a really wonderful event, in part because of its politics, but mostly because of its spirit, and shows what a great, strong LGBT community there is here in Queens. So, I mean, look at you, amazing, and a good-looking crowd too. And the other thing I want to also thank everyone that organized this, and also for the honorees tonight. Matt Foreman, who has been in the trenches for forever, really has dedicated his life to our movement and our community. And can you move the new foundation, Matt, to New York so you can stay? He's working on it. And to my good friend Danny O'Donnell, because of the incredible leadership that he showed in the New York State Assembly in getting marriage passed there. One of the most moving experiences of my life was to see him lead that floor fight and to see marriage pass the New York State Assembly. So thank you, Danny. And, you know, a little later on this month, because it's not cold enough here, I'll be heading up to Watertown because we have an open Senate seat happening up there. And while I believe that marriage is going to become a reality with the vote of the New York State Senate in the very near future, and with the signature of our pro-same-sex marriage governor, Eliot Spitzer, electing a Democrat up there is going to move us one giant step closer. But without having the passage of the bill in the Assembly, my job would be that much harder in the Senate. So thank you, Danny, for that. And finally, I just want to say, because we're pointing out, you know, old political war horses, I do have to say that my brother John, former State Assembly member from Queens, is here, who voted yes on the first gay civil rights bill that was in the New York State Assembly. And I know that endears you to your constituents in Northeast Queens back there in the 80s. I love him very much, and I'm thrilled that he's here. And thank you all so very much for letting me come home.
And I want to say that we've been joined by Assemblymember Rory Lansman, who's here also, and by Assemblywoman Catherine Nolan, the chair of the Education Committee. And ladies and gentlemen, some of the elected officials that you've already heard, have already spoken to you, have told you about the changes that have happened here in the county. But really, to tell you the truth, no changes could have occurred without the support of our county leader, our wonderful, wonderful friend in this community who we are so fortunate to have as the county leader of the Democratic organization. Let's put it together for Congressman Joseph Crowley.
Thank you. Always, what a wonderful introduction Danny always gives me, so thank you. But Danny, I have a bone to pick with you. I haven't seen the Blade article, so you're the king of Queens? And for Tom, is the reverse true as well? If you scratch a Queens regular, you get them at Hampton Falls? Yeah, let me just say as well, you might want to stop inviting elected officials, because if this goes on, you'll never get to your dinner tonight, you know. But it is a great sign of the advancements of the community, not only here in Queens, but in our city and nationally as well. We had some positive things happen. Oh, you gave me the order. I'm going to keep this in the frame. It was a controversial year in many respects in Washington. We had movement on, and it wasn't quite the legislation that we would have liked to have seen pass, but an advancement is being made. The notion that we would have a bill like that pass the House of Representatives in the support that it did garner is remarkable. So things are moving in a positive direction, and we're not going backwards, we're going forward. So I treasure my relationship with the community here in Queens County, the city, and nationally. Keep up the great work, and God bless you all. You're doing wonderful work.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
I want to also congratulate Matt, forming your honoree, as well as Danny O'Donnell, a great friend. Danny, congratulations.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's put it together for the Controller of the State of New York, Thomas Annapolis.
Good evening, everyone. I am proud to stand with Queen's Pride this evening. What a great event. Danny's always told me so much about it. My colleagues in the legislature always told me so much about this great event, this great organization. I am privileged to be with you as your New York State Controller. And I want you to know there are many serious issues out there. We're all concerned about this year, great change and opportunity of 2008. And our best role models for where we need to see our leadership go are certainly your two honorees this evening. I had the privilege to work with Matt Foreman over many years when I was in the State Assembly. No one's been more on the front line than Matt. Matt, congratulations for this well-deserved recognition this evening. And my former colleague and great friend from the State Assembly, Danny O'Donnell, is certainly worthy of your special recognition this evening. You know, a lot has been said about the marriage equality bill passing the State Assembly, and it was a magnificent achievement, and many of you in this room are responsible because of your advocacy and your work with your Assembly representatives. But you know what really was the final ingredient that really made the difference? That not only ensured that that bill would pass, but that it would pass with an overwhelming majority, and that a lot of Republicans would join with the Democrats. It was the personal, diligent, dedicated, tireless, fearsome advocacy of Danny O'Donnell. Danny, thank you for being such a wonderful champion on such an important issue. And I want you to know whether the issue is civil rights, health care, marriage equality, you have a friend in the Controller's office. I look forward to working with all of you for a very long time to come. Have a great evening, everyone.
No need to welcome the Congresswoman from this area. Let's put it together for Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney.
Thank you, Danny. Is everybody having a good time? This is one of my favorite events, Winter Pride. There's such an energy, excitement, inclusiveness, and positive feelings tonight. And I made a very special effort to be here to honor and to applaud and show my appreciation to your two extraordinary honorees. Danny O'Donnell, I know how hard it is to pass anything in the New York State Assembly, and to pass the Marriage Equality Amendment is an extraordinary achievement, especially when you see what's happening in the United States Congress, where they passed the Defense of Marriage Act. I've been in public life a long time. Believe me, no one has ever asked me to defend their marriage. Never. So Danny, congratulations, and I look forward to working with you to pass it in the Senate and to see it signed into law, and that is extremely important, not only for New York State, but for the country. Thank you, Danny, for your leadership. And Matt Foreman is a towering figure in our community. His leadership with the New York State Pride Agenda, where they passed the Gay Equality Amendment, the Civil Rights Amendment, SONDA, his leadership in the anti-violence movement, where he really turned it into a force to be reckoned with. He's an extraordinary leader and who has made tremendous strides for equality in our country. Thank you, Matt, for your service. I'm delighted to be here to celebrate and to honor our honorees with you. Thank you for your hard work and for this wonderful event.
And from the Bronx, I'd like to introduce you to Bronx Borough President Adolfo Carrion.
Thank you, Ben. I'm delighted to join you today, and I will indeed be very, very brief. I want to say congratulations and thank you to Danny O'Donnell for his courage and his leadership. Congratulations to Matt. Thank you to Dan and to this organization for stepping up and for being courageous in representing the needs of the LGBT community here in the county of Queens. And on behalf of the LGBT community in the county of the Bronx, I bring you greetings. We should be as large and as strong and as well organized as you, so we will use you as a model to do the work that we need to do in the Bronx. Congratulations to all of you and have a wonderful evening.
Well, there are two redheads in my life, and it wouldn't be complete without introducing you to the liaison for the lesbian and gay community, Karen Koskowitz. Let's hear it. She's here tonight also to represent Queens Borough President Helen Marshall.
Thank you, Danny. It's always wonderful to be here. But I have to tell you, this event is wonderful, but June is my favorite month. We march down 37th Avenue, and then at the end of June, we have our event, and I work with Danny very closely to have our event, and most of you are at that event. I want to tell you that our Borough President, Helen Marshall, tonight is in Guyana, tracing her roots. She went with her husband, her sister, and her cousin, and they're tracing their roots, but if she wasn't there, she definitely would be here, and she sends her best to all of you. She loves you.
All right, what I want to do now is just move into a few other introductions. So, and then I want to go to the award part of the program. So let's put it together and give our elected officials a big round of applause. We thank them very, very much for coming. All right, I want to mention that we do have a few judges here in the crowd. Let's put it together for Judge Rudy Greco, who was just elected a judge. The Chief Administrative Judge for the Civil Court of New York, Judge Bernice Siegel. And Judge Tom Raphael is here as well. Let's hear from Judge Tom Raphael. And we have some district leaders. My own co-leader from Jackson Heights, Dorothy Phelan, is here. District Leader Barbara Jackson is here. District Leader Honey Miller is here. And she's been for 15 years. And also State Committee woman Kay Glover is with us tonight. Kay. So ladies and gentlemen, what we want to do now is move right into the program. And Martha Taylor, I didn't see Martha Taylor here. Let's hear it for Martha Taylor. Excuse me if I left someone out. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been very fortunate, you know, with Queen's Pride. It's grown, and we have some new leadership. And didn't I say Ellen Raphael? Oh, I'm so sorry. Let's put it together for District Leader Ellen Raphael. Right here. All right, we've gotten some new blood into the organization because these bones are getting old. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you the Secretary of the Queens Lesbian and Gay Pride Committee, Ari Gershman.
Good evening, everyone. Our first honoree, Daniel O'Donnell. Elected to the 69th Assembly District in 2002, is the first openly gay man in the New York State Assembly. Born in Queens, he graduated from George Washington University and SUNY Law School. Throughout his lifetime in public service, Assemblymember O'Donnell has fought to bring positive change to his community. He was a founding member of the New York City chapter of Citizen Action, and for 7 years he served as a public defender in the Brooklyn office of the Legal Aid Society. He then opened his own public interest law firm, a community practice that included tenant representation as well as civil rights litigation on issues ranging from employment discrimination to the First Amendment. Assemblymember O'Donnell continues to be a prominent progressive voice in New York State. Seeking the right to marry his partner of over 25 years, Daniel O'Donnell was part of a lawsuit against the state. The case reached the Court of Appeals, which deferred to the New York State Legislature. And fortunately for us, Daniel O'Donnell was a member of the New York State Legislature. So last year, Assemblymember O'Donnell led the historic effort in the State Assembly to establish marriage equality in New York. Through his leadership, the Assembly approved a marriage bill by a vote of 85 to 61. The bill passed more quickly and with a wider margin of support than most people expected, and the person who made it happen was Daniel O'Donnell. The Queens LGBT Pride Committee honors Daniel O'Donnell this evening for his tremendous work toward marriage equality, but also for his work on civil rights and human rights. He is making New York State better for every one of us, and we know that he will continue to fight for equality and justice.
So, this is the moment, folks. Get out your attention. We would like to, you know, I'm a teacher, so I will get you if you don't sit quietly. I will. We would like to present this award. You know, marriage would not have happened. It's amazing. Just, I want you to take a minute to think about it. Because when we started here 15 years ago, this was not something on our minds. But it's been made possible because of the efforts of this man, Assemblymember Danny O'Donnell.
Okay, the Winter Pride Award presented to Assembly Member Danny O'Donnell, lead sponsor of the Marriage Equality Bill, for outstanding leadership and dedication to securing equal rights for all New Yorkers. The Queens Lesbian and Gay Pride Committee, January 26, 2008. Let's hear it for Daniel O'Donnell.
Good evening, Queens. And women too. Come on, folks. I want to thank the committee for all their good work. I have been to this dinner on a number of occasions. I don't recall correctly when the last time I was here. But I want to let you know that the work that you do makes the work that I do possible. And so I want to read to you a list. Well, here it is. This is the list of your assembly members who voted for your right to be treated equally. And whether they're here tonight or not, they were here for you when you needed them. And they are Jeffrey Aubrey, Ann Carosa, Vivian Cook, Michael Generis, Andy Hevesy, Ivan Lafayette, Rory Lansman, Nettie Meyerson, Kathy Nolan, Jose Peralta, Audrey Pfeffer, Bill Scarborough, Michelle Titus, Mark Ruppert, and Ellen Young. So I would like to when the Speaker of the Assembly allowed me to carry that bill, he knew that I was going to make the case very difficult for my colleagues. And so I did whatever was necessary to get those votes. I flirted with my colleagues, I threatened my colleagues, I kissed my colleagues' butts if necessary to try to get them to understand why we deserve to be treated equally. And so this award is for me, but it does not belong to me. It belongs to the 85 men and women in the Assembly who have the courage to say, enough is enough already. People are people. All New Yorkers need to be treated equally. So thank you very much for the honor and thank you for the meeting.
It is now my honor and privilege to introduce our next honoree. I was talking with him a few minutes ago, reminiscing on how long ago we met and how important grassroots work is. My partner and I, Stanley, were together more than 25 years. We're in a meeting of gay friends and neighbors in Queens, a fairly new social group here in Queens. And then we had a representation from Heritage of Pride. And one of those representatives was a young man named Matt Foreman, sitting in a little basement of a little church on the border of Elmhurst and Jackson Heights. He was telling us the importance of marching a parade in Queens, and that we wouldn't be struck by lightning if we actually stepped onto a street and be openly gay. It took a lot of courage by our members, and I think we got together a half a dozen to walk in that parade. I know my mother knew I was marching, but she didn't tell my father. And my partner was working at the time, somewhere along Fifth Avenue. He would run from work on the way. We'd meet somewhere in the middle of the parade, Fifth Avenue in the 20s. But that was the beginning of a person, Matt Foreman, starting with small groups, Heritage of Pride at that time, comparatively small, moving on to AVP, moving on to various civil rights groups, anti-violence groups, political groups. Now he's running one of the most important groups in the nation. but the person hasn't changed. The man is still an unbelievable worker, tireless, and believing in the civil rights for all of us, for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. And by that, also every person who has the need for freedom and civil rights. As we just celebrated Martin Luther King Day, if one person is not free, we are not all free. Everybody is working, whether it be black, white, Latino, Asian, LGBT, new immigrant, old immigrant, English speaking, non-English speaking. And Matt is an example of how somebody can dedicate over 25 years of raising us all up with him. We thank him. At this time, I'd like to come up and my co-chair will read the flag.
Okay, the Winter Pride Award presented to Matt Foreman, Executive Director of the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force, for years of devoted leadership and for promoting comprehensive justice nationwide. The Queens Lesbian and Gay Pride Committee, January 26, 2008. Let's hear it for Matt Foreman. Congratulations.
Sorry, I didn't even step in front of you before. It's probably I've got it like, because I'm busy thinking what I'm doing and not anybody else.
And we also want to ask Ted Rivera and Jennifer Rivera, the brother and niece of Julio Rivera, to come up and share a few of their thoughts with us as well. Ted and Jennifer.
Good evening. On behalf of the family of Julio Rivera, my father and I are here to just say thank you to Matt for all he's done, and especially on behalf of my mother Peggy, who wishes she could be here too. We met Matt 18 years ago. I was 12, my dad was 29, and it was through a tragedy that we met him, but he's become a very special and close friend that we consider like family.
Matt, we really thank you from the bottom of our hearts for just being there for us. You know, I'm a bad speaker. I always have been. Yes, we met 18 years ago at the basement of the Magic Touch. And it was a business meeting, but from that point on, we've been friends. He never gave up on us. The courage you have to be in that courtroom, to be in the hallway with gang members. He never gave up, and thank God we got justice.
Thank you, Matt.
And then finally, I just want to add my remarks as well. You know, some people forget what it was like 18 years ago. But there was nobody in Queens, really, except for Alan Sack and then Matt Foreman and a couple of other people who would stand up for the murderers and capture the murderers of Julio Rivera. As a matter of fact, the police gave the case to a detective who was on vacation for 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, Matt. Am I right? But this guy right here, Matt Foreman, stood up and he led a march through Jackson Heights. When there's trouble in District 24, Matt Foreman led a march through Ridgewood. And Matt has been leading marches ever since. He's also the founder of Heritage of Pride. And he's the executive director of the National Gay Lesbian Task Force. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Matt Foreman.
very, very, very much. This is an incredible honor. I can't begin to tell you what an honor it is. And to receive this award along with Danny O'Donnell, I think one thing you all don't know, because people are too polite to say, that we had a marriage equality bill in the State Assembly for 6 or 7 years. And its prime sponsor was a straight man who couldn't seem to get off his ass and do anything about it. In one session, Danny O'Donnell got the marriage equality bill passed. You all tonight are an example of great things coming out of horrific instances. And that horrific instance was the murder, of course, of Julio Rivera. I don't want to look backwards too much, but I think most of us in this room could not imagine an evening like this tonight back then. We could not imagine when a bunch of us activists got off the subway to march here in Jackson Heights. You know, we were as scared as anyone else. But what was great is that our numbers were dwarfed by all of you who came out to march in your own neighborhood. That's real courage. It's easy to come from someplace else. It takes real courage to march in your own neighborhood. No one ever thought the police or judicial system would respond to you, and they did. Nobody would have ever dreamed that in Queens, our community could have all these elected officials line up, desperate to speak, wanting to speak, and thank God most of them didn't. Who would have ever thought that in Queens, and because we didn't know better about our own people, that no anti-LGBT candidate could ever win borough-wide office anymore in Queens. That we would have so many state senate and assembly members here to support you, including all those assembly members from Queens who voted for marriage equality. And why is that? It's because of your dedication, your perseverance, your courage. You're willing to stand up, you're willing to volunteer, you're willing to be there for our community. So thank you, and I know Julio would be so proud. I am really personally grateful to you and Julio and his family. For one thing, I met my boyfriend of now 18 years through organizing a queer nation around Julio Rivera, Francisco De Leon, if you want to stand up.